All right. Good morning, everybody who's able to watch us live. Thank you. Good afternoon, good evening, anybody watching the recordings, wherever you are, and whatever time it is for you. Thank you so much. I'm Ian Foster. This is My Empowered Political Life for Friday, June 13th, Anno Domini 2025. Um, I'm not especially superstitious. I know some people are about Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th has always been a lucky day for me. So if there's any superstition there, it's I always expect it to be a great day, and it always is. So I love Friday the 13th. I apologize here for the quality of the video recording. We are in our office, and my internet is spotty today, so the quality of the recording is not great. There's actually a video I'd love for you guys to watch, so you can make up your own mind about events too. Because of my internet right now, um, I won't be able to embed it in this video, but I will link it below, both on Facebook and YouTube. I had not necessarily planned on doing a video today because we are out and about and traveling, but I did want to address the what happened with Senator Alex Padilla yesterday at Kristi Noem's press conference and how it fits into the broader picture. So many of you probably heard of it. A U.S. senator was handcuffed and marched off and detained yesterday at a press conference. So I'll link the video below, and you can make up your own mind about what happened. Some of my friends think the senator was out of line, and some think Kristi Noem was out of line, and some think both were out of line, some think neither were out of line. But there's a lot happening here. So yesterday, Kristi Noem, our Secretary of Homeland Security, was holding a press conference in a federal building in Los Angeles. Uh, United States Senator Alex Padilla showed up. And if you watch the video, you can see he does start out sort of interrupting, right? So you could kind of say he was rudely interrupting, trying to ask her questions. One of the points he's been trying to make throughout this, he's the ranking member of the subcommittee in the Senate that oversees immigration issues. And Senator Padilla and his colleagues on that subcommittee have been trying for months to get answers from Kristi Noem, and she and her department just simply don't respond. They don't respond in public. They don't respond in private. They have lots of unanswered questions about the enforcement, about the DHS budget issues that are happening. And they're just through the normal channels where the Senate would speak to a department. They're not getting answers from them. So he shows up to a press conference. This is a public press conference in a public federal building. And he does, in the beginning, interrupt in a manner that you could see as rude. Again, he's trying to make that point, though, that he can't get answers through the normal channels. Now, it's probably not how I would have done it if I were him. I would have probably kept trying for a while to get answers through normal channels before I did something like this. But this is the tact he chose. Now, he was then several dudes in plain clothes. We have no idea who these guys are. Basically dragged him out of the room. He gets outside where there are FBI agents in the hallway, and the FBI agents shove him face first onto the floor, handcuff him, and march him off for a brief detention. Now, even if the senator were Mr. Random Joe Dude, I would have said that sort of behavior on the federal officers would not have been warranted. All you have to do is ask the guy to leave. They didn't really ask him to leave. They just grabbed him and started pulling him out immediately. Now, the official DHS explanation is that the senator, quote, lunged at the secretary and that he failed to identify himself and that the secretary had no idea who he was. Now, we know that the secretary and the senator have met on several occasions. So, saying she didn't know who he was is a little dubious. Maybe she just didn't recognize him. But this is a prominent and active United States senator who's met her and her staff before. He did not lunge at the secretary. There's nothing to indicate that happened. And again, the DHS explanation says the senator failed to identify himself, which is obviously untrue if you watch the video. The first thing he did was identify himself as United States Senator Alex Padilla. It's the first thing he did. He repeatedly identified himself. And even after he identified himself, he was still shoved to the floor face first, handcuffed, and detained. Now, one of the senator's staff pulled out his phone to film what was happening as soon as this started. And then the FBI agents told the staffer that it was against regulations to film. which seems a little crazy to me. This is a public press conference in a public building. The senator, as a member of Congress, had an absolute right to be there. If you're not aware, there is a law saying that members of Congress have an absolute right to be inside federal buildings to conduct oversight. So it's a little odd to me that the FBI would say that the senator's staffer is not allowed to film, um, when he obviously is allowed to film in this public building at a public press conference where a U.S. senator is being handcuffed by federal agents. And I guess, the worst crime you could say the senator committed was that he was rude and interrupted the secretary. And I'm fine with that. If you want to say he was rude and interrupted with the secretary, okay. He did interrupt her. You could argue that it was rude. And again, though, the point he was trying to make is that he's been trying to get answers from her for months and can't get them, even as the ranking member on the Senate subcommittee that oversees these issues. So that's kind of where things went. I will give some. I will commend Kristi Noem a little bit for after the fact. After the fact, she tried to calm things down. I felt she could have tried to calm things down in the moment. She should have known who he was, especially since they met and he identified himself. After the fact, she did meet with him and try to calm things down a little bit. So I will give her some credit there. The White House did not try to calm things down. The White House official statement on the incident was that the United States senator acted like an unhinged bitch. You heard that right. I am not misquoting. The official White House statement is that the United States senator acted like an unhinged bitch. I'm not sure how that's helpful or calming things down. I've certainly never seen an official White House statement like that before, ever. I've never seen an official White House statement calling anybody an unhinged bitch or anything like that, much less a sitting United States senator. So super not helpful. Now, how does this fit in the greater context? Again, you guys know what's happening in Los Angeles. We talked about it the last few days. These ICE raids are, again, masked agents acting in full combat gear like they're raiding a house in Fallujah in 2006. So they were intentionally inflammatory. The other thing that happened yesterday that's related is the president said that they are looking into maybe they should stop raiding farms and hotels. Right? ICE has been raiding farms and hotels. And apparently the farm industry and the hotel industry got to the president and said, hey, you're taking away all of our best people who have been loyal, hardworking employees for 20 years. And there's going to be nobody left to clean the hotel rooms. There's going to be nobody left to clean pick the vegetables. So the president now is looking into no longer raiding farms and hotels. He might exempt those industries from the raids. I would be fine with that. I don't think we should be arresting farm workers and hotel workers. So I'd be okay with that. This could be another taco situation. Look up Trump and taco if you want to know what that's about. This could be a taco situation, which is the term now given when the president reverses course on issues after getting pressured from people. So it could be a taco situation, but we'll see what happens. We also know that Stephen Miller, one of his chief advisors, wants to keep raiding farms and hotels. They want to meet their goal of deporting 20 million people, which is devastating to the economy, devastating communities. It's tearing families apart, which is why you're seeing protests. And on the protests, again, we're going to have a military parade in the streets of Washington, D.C. tomorrow, complete with 75-ton main battle tanks, at least 2 companies worth, last I checked. The streets of Washington, D.C., in case you're wondering, are not designed to support the weight of 75-ton main battle tanks. So this is likely going to literally tear up the streets of the Capitol. They're going to need repairs. We're looking at somewhere between $50 and $100 million cost. The cost is not exactly certain because the administration has not been forthcoming. And that does not even include whatever repairs we have to make to the streets of the nation's capital after these main battle tanks tear it up. There are going to be protests across the country. The people who are organizing these protests are asking people not to protest in Washington, D.C. So if you live in the DC area, please do not protest in DC. Um, they're trying to keep the protests away from the nation's capital, so as not to inflame and not to cause trouble. The president has said if people protest in the Capitol while the parade is happening, they will be met with force. And he didn't say violent protesters, he just said protesters. So please do not protest in the nation's capital tomorrow. The main protest is going to be in Philadelphia, which is very appropriate because Philadelphia is actually the city that's really the birthplace of our nation. So if you live in or around the Philly area, uh, go to the Philly protests. I imagine it's going to be amazing. Go to nokings.org. I will link to that below as well. You can go to nokings.org if you're interested in protesting. We are finally seeing kind of a large scale unified protest movement, and they are trying to nail down some articulable goals in the protest. They are insisting it be peaceful. These protests, they're not going to tolerate violence among their ranks, which I love. I've been saying now for the last week. The protesters have to police their own before the police do it. So they will not tolerate violence or property destruction at these protests. The intent is to be entirely peaceful, entirely legal. If you see people picking up rocks to throw at police, go have a talk with them and stop them. If you see National Guardsmen, what you're looking at likely are kids in their 20s who have been taken away from their families. They're hot, they're tired, they're hungry, they're thirsty, they're stressed. They don't want to be there. They have no there. In fact, there have been a lot of interesting anonymous quotes, of course, anonymous, from National Guardsmen and Marines in LA who have been saying, "We don't know why we're here. There's no reason for us to be here. We don't want to be here." So be kind to your National Guardsmen if you see them. Instead of throwing rocks at them, like I said the other day, give them sandwiches and water bottles. They don't want to be there. They have no desire to be doing this. So be kind to your National Guardsmen. And do not judge the National Guard by the handful of bad actors among their ranks. You're any large group of people, there's going to be bad actors. Do not judge the National Guard by the handful of bad actors in their ranks. In the same way that we don't want the protests judged by the handful of bad actors in the protest ranks. Any group of people, you're going to have 1%, 5%, whatever, of bad actors. Don't judge the entire group by the bad actors, whether it's the protesters, the National Guard, the police, or whoever. Try to maintain love, try to maintain kindness. There's a lot happening right now. Tomorrow could be very much an inflection point in American history. Some are calling it an event horizon in American history beyond which we cannot see, and once we're on the other side, we can't see out. We don't know what's going to happen. So stay peaceful, stay calm, be kind to the police, be kind to the National Guardsmen. Again, they are hot, tired, hungry, and thirsty. Okay, they don't want to be dealing with this. And one thing I do want to mention very quickly, and I'll have to do a separate video on this next week. Israel committed what I can only describe as an act of war against the Islamic Republic of Iran. And I'm not even necessarily criticizing that. I'm just saying it's an act of war. Israel sent apparently at least 200 warplanes to Iran and struck over 100 targets, killed Iran's 3 top-ranking generals, destroyed several Iranian nuclear facilities and military facilities, targeted a number of Iranian scientists who were helping with the nuclear program. Now, this may have been necessary. Again, I'm not criticizing Israel for this. It's just a fact. This was a huge act of war, massive destruction across Iran. 200 warplanes in Iranian airspace attacking 100 targets and assassinating specific people is an act of war. Now, Iran is a bad actor on the world stage. They are trying to get nuclear weapons. Iran has a decent defense industrial capacity, and they have been supplying a substantial number of weapons to Russia that are killing Ukrainian civilians. Iran is a bad actor. This may have been necessary. I'm reserving judgment on that at this point. Israel obviously thought it was necessary. I bet there are lots of other countries. I bet the United States is not upset about this. Saudi Arabia is not upset about this. Ukraine is not upset about this. A lot of people are probably pretty happy Israel did this. So we're going to have to see where that goes. But even if it was necessary, it still could erupt into a full-blown, conflict in the Middle East. Because if you're Iran, you don't want to look weak. you have to do some sort of massive response to this. You can't just sit there and take it, right? So pay attention to that. We'll see what happens from here on out. Thanks so much, everyone. I hope you guys have a great weekend. If you're going out to protest, go to nokings.org and join one of the organized peaceful protests in your community. Last I checked, there are something like 1,800 of them around the country. Stay away from the Capitol. Join one of those 1,800 peaceful organized protests. Go to nokings.org. Keep it peaceful. Keep it loving. Try to remember the goal here. And have a good weekend, everybody.